I have a response video to a couple of videos by Matt and one by Darwin's Hamster, where he brought up the word empathy, and so I thought that's worth talking about as a solution. It was, well, anyway, it was a video where he was empathizing or sympathizing with some of the views or opinions of StephBot, which I found kind of amazing, as I think StephBot's void of any ethics or moral compass, or whatever you want to call that, integrity, intelligence, rationality, but whatever. Moving on. Alright, so first to the Matt sort of part of the subject is that, well, Matt keeps talking about life like we've self-organized ourselves, that there's some kind of a difference between us making a car and how we got made by nature. Okay, he won't even use the words like we were made over 4 billion years of evolution. He won't even, he kind of just skirts and avoids that whole notion, because we basically just self-organized. Our parts said, oh yes, we want to be part of the whole, and they decided to all work together to make us. And it's just so silly that it doesn't even, it doesn't deserve a response. It's so silly. These are the babblings of children, infants, not people who've read books. It's just, I don't know. There's just no conversation to be had with that kind of idiotic premise. We understand the construction process. It's slow and laborious, but nature does it. It builds something, even though it has no direct mission. The fundamental principles it's acting on lead it to accomplish something. We could create machines that do that. They have just a simple mission, but if we let them do their mission over billions of years, those machines would accomplish something. They would change the atmosphere. They could change the entire face of the earth if depending on what they're designed to do. And the way whole Matt talks is like everything is somehow integrated and cohesive and all these words, but I'm sure the first cellular organisms, if they had a brain and a nervous system and were capable of thought, would be kind of offended at the other life forms who deprive them of their atmosphere, the atmosphere they were born into, the atmosphere they could survive into. And these other life forms decided that they should be, the world should change, and they should be made extinct, exterminated, made incapable of surviving in the world they were going to create. I mean, that's what life did. We killed Adam and Eve. That's what we did, all right? As biology, microbes, they killed their creator. They killed the first life forms by changing the world. And they didn't change it on purpose. They changed it just because they were a little consuming and producing machines, and they just kept doing that until they piled their shit on top of the world, and everything had to live in their shit. And that's all we're doing. We're living in an environment of microbial shit, and that's what we're surviving on, in a layer of that. And if some new little microbe came along that consumed our oxygen and locked it up in the soil or something, we might be out of luck. It might be the end for us. And it wouldn't be because of some brilliant natural design. It would be because stupid, dumb forces are in control, and these little machines that nature has produced have a stupid mission. It's just a mission that says, I shall, as an individual DNA molecule, survive. There's nothing wrong with the Dawkins metaphor of the selfish gene. That's how we function. All right, so let's take that. First, let me get rid of his determinism argument too. I mean, like, we're not somehow determinism is some critical thing that we can't accept the fact that we're deterministic. Somehow it'll just crash our whole software, our brain, our life force. Look, we can recognize the fact that everything about us has been conditioned into us, has been built into us, has been programmed into us, okay? Nature programs part of us, the environment we grow up in, the culture we grow up in, our family, that conditions part of us, and then just our life experience, the life we happen to fall into, ends up providing the rest. And it's all about what comes in before anything can come out. It's all determined. What happens to us, what every molecule, every atom is on its course. There's nothing affecting or changing or distorting any of that. If we had the knowledge, we could predict everything, every word we speak, every thought we will have, every thought we're capable of having. And that's where we can find the proof of it, is that we do not have spontaneous ideas. We combine what we have. We have to deal with the materials, the ingredients we're given to bake our cake. We can't just pull anything out of vapor somewhere. It doesn't happen that way, Matt, and you goddamn well know it. Alright, so understanding that we are just a conditioned animal, okay? I mean, is that so fucking hard for you people to accept? You are conditioned animals, alright? That's your innate psychology. Alright, now you have this intelligence that can give you a little bit more, but your psychology is your psychology, your intelligence is your intelligence. They are two different things. You can understand things in principle, but man, feeling them, making yourself feel them, it's a whole different thing. So this is where me and Darwin's hamster are going to go our separate ways. He has some notion that the world needs empathy, that somehow we can transmit empathy into people's psychologies. And certainly maybe we could raise people to be more empathetic. But the simple truth is empathy is an emotion, all right? And it's an emotion that's conditioned. It's very dependent on what you're subjectively connected to. You could theoretically know that your parents aren't better than other people's parents, but you're always going to empathize more with yours. Just the same thing with your kids. You can philosophically understand that the other people's kids are just as valuable as your children, but you cannot change your heart. You cannot, it's very difficult anyway, to recondition yourself to say, no, I'm not going to love my kids any more than I love those kids. That's not going to happen. It's not practical. It's not realistic. We are not going to create empathetic human beings. They are not going to have empathy for each other because they're going to reject each other's diversity. They're going to reject the conflict, the abrasiveness of the differences, okay, that exist between them. And that's going to make empathy impractical. What the world goddamn needs is respect. That's the word people need to incorporate into their psychology, is the word respect. They have to respect other human beings. They have to respect their life. They have to respect their dignity. They have to respect things like concepts like fairness. So when we develop social systems and economic systems, we have to have fairness in mind, not living out our definition of empathy, not living out our individual personal definition of what's valuable based on our personal psychology, whether you like Big Macs or sushi. That's not the fucking question. We're not going to decide the fate of mankind, and we're not going to fix our circumstances by asking people what their preference in condiments is. That's not how we figure out how to fix this problem. We figure it out by saying, yeah, these are the basic principles.
Fairness, that's the principle. Let's come up with a rational definition of what that is. We can certainly know what it isn't, okay? And birthright isn't fairness. That's logical to any human being. Any human being can figure out. As soon as you start giving people head starts in races, you've broken the idea of fairness. It's not a fair fight anymore if you let somebody use steel gloves and the other person's got, I don't know, nylon mittens. I mean, we can figure this out. All right, if one guy's got a machine gun and the other guy's got a bow and arrow, it's not a fair fight. We can figure that out. Okay, so this isn't too hard to define, but that's what's going to that's what has to happen. And then the word, this is all about how we look at things. So yeah, we can look at the world when we say empathy and love and all that crap, but no, respect is the word we need to focus on. So when we're talking about rights, the word to focus on is responsibilities. Fuck the word rights. Fuck the word freedom. Focus on the word responsibilities. That's where the answers lie. That's where you answer the question of how do you design a fair system, as you talk about human responsibilities. Because things like rights and freedom, those words don't have any fucking meaning. But responsibility, we can define that. We can describe that rationally. And it's just, and building our social systems or government, the rest of it, it's just about constructing rules. I've said this 4 million times. It's just life is a fucking game. We know what goes into it. There's this thing called suffering and pain and work and sacrifice. These are the things that people have to give. This is the negative that has to be fed into the machine, the gasoline that fuels it. All right, and we know that the rewards are this satisfaction thing, whatever that is. Happiness, joy, comfort. These are the things we get out of the system. And all we have to do is create a system that says, okay, well, here's the game. This is what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to reduce the amount of this suffering and this other stuff. We don't want to be wasting any of it. And we want to create as much of this comfort and this joy and this happiness thing as we possibly can. And we want to do it by fair fucking rules. I mean, it's not that fucking complicated. And people just keep making it complicated. And so, Darwin Hamster in one of his other fucking videos says, oh, all the other economic systems have been failures. They've all been failures. We've tried it all. We've done it all, and it's all been a failure. And that's just such a bullshit. All right, socialism hasn't been tried in any disciplined, real way. It's always been disorganized and constructed by people of dubious character. All right, and so it isn't going to work under those circumstances. And even the same for like I said, it really isn't about these two extremes. We know what fairness is. Fairness is giving people what they earned. All right, in proportional rewards, not disproportional rewards. That's not that complicated. It really isn't. And the idea of having incentives, I mean, it doesn't take an Einstein to figure out that incentives are a good idea. Incentives to be more productive are a good idea. That you would reward people for being more productive. Well, you don't have to be Einstein to figure that out. And that you'd create disincentives for doing things like consuming too much, being unproductive, wasting resources, wasting labor, wasting people's lives. That would be something you would put a penalty upon, or that you would create disincentives for people behaving that way. I mean, this isn't beyond our capacity to comprehend or to accomplish.